going on, guys? It's Nick here, back in the video. Today we're talking about the year 2 and 3 wide receivers that I'm most excited to draft this season. There are actually 3 year 2, 3 wide receivers going in round 1. Obviously, all 3 of them are phenomenal picks. Puka, Nabers, and Brian Thomas Jr. I'm not going to talk about all 3 because it would be kind of dumb to talk about 3 round 1 wide receivers in this top 5. But I just wanted to include my favorite in this video. Again, the other 2 are awesome, but we're going to talk about Nabers in this one. I really like Malik Nabers this season. Of course, the cost is way up from last season. That's what happens. It's completely deserved. He had an unreal rookie season. He is set up for a potential wide receiver 1 overall finish in 2025. And it's really just because, there is nothing negative you can possibly say about Malik Nabers. He's a freak athlete. He had fantastic success versus man and press in his rookie season. His route success rates were all fantastic. He can play all 3 wide receiver positions. He produced as a wide receiver 1 on a per game basis, like a mid to low end. I think he was the wide receiver 8 per game with terrible quarterback play, right? Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito. So we know that he's an amazing talent that's also quarterback proof. Not one of those receivers where you're like, yeah, he hasn't been producing, but it's because the quarterback play has been bad. He's already played with bad quarterback play on a bad offense. That's going to improve this season, but he already produced with those terrible quarterbacks. The Giants have also yet to add any sort of wide receiver talent this offseason. As things stand right now, you got Malik Nabers as the unquestioned alpha on the team, but then it's Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt. Nabers was first in targets per game by a mile as a rookie last season. I would expect that to happen again this year, just with better quarterback play and a team that will likely score more than 16.1 points per game, leading to more overall touchdown opportunities as well. Again, this is not to say Puka or Brian Thomas Jr. are bad picks. They are not. They are fantastic picks, and if you want to take them in round 1, go for it. I have taken them at times in drafts so far this summer, so they're still awesome, but if choosing between the 3, I think Malik Nabers is just such an unreal pick. I have zero concerns about him. He's my favorite among the 3. And honestly, it's a pretty big deal. I mean, when you think about, okay, we have someone who is likely going to finish number 1 in volume, the most targets per game. You can get them as the 5th wide receiver off boards. That's a pretty strong value. Love being able to get him in that mid to late first round range. Next up, moving a little bit later in the draft, McConkey got off to, I guess we can call it a slow start last season. It was still a perfectly fine start, but when you compare it to the later portion of the season, a little bit of a slow start. First 7 weeks, 68 receptions, a season-long pace, obviously. Season-long pace over the first 7 weeks of 68 receptions, 751 yards, 6 touchdowns. That would still be a respectable rookie season. And since wide receivers tend to break out in the second half of the season, rookie wide receivers, it was a really good start overall. But I don't think people understand or truly maybe appreciate how good of a second half Lad had. From week 8 on, his season-long pace was now 99 receptions, over 1,500 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And that is not including his playoff game when he had 9 receptions for 197 yards and a touchdown. He went off down this stretch, and it wasn't just because he had really good quarterback play. From an individual route running perspective, he put together probably the best season among all of the rookie wide receivers last year. Dominated versus man, press, and zone. Dominated the entire route tree. Proved that he's not slot only. That was the concern some people had entering the league, that he would only be a slot receiver. And so when they go into 2 wide receiver sets, which the Chargers are going to do a decent amount this season, they want to play, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, 1 running back a lot of the time. The concern was if he's not on the field in those sets, obviously you can't score fantasy points when you're on the sideline. But as per Fantasy Points advanced data, he was 11th in separation score and 4th in yards per route run when lined up out wide. And again, was great versus press man coverage, which is a good identifier of can you win on the outside. He only trailed A.J. Brown, Puka Nacua, and Nico Collins in yards per route run on the outside. That makes him insanely dangerous because, again, doesn't have to come off the field in 2 wide receiver sets, and you can design him looks on the outside and the inside. Again, we know that the slot is a cheat code. When you get a fantastic wide receiver in the slot, especially with a quarterback that has a very long history of targeting slot wide receivers, it's a cheat code because the matchups you're able to create on linebackers a lot of the time is unreal. I mean, Ladd on a linebacker, obviously you shouldn't do that as a defense, but it's going to happen a lot. But the ability to say, okay, but we've also got this player we want to utilize him on the outside, the ability to do that just makes his ceiling incredibly high. And if anything, there's room to grow. He was only 28th in first read percentage last season. He's already an elite wide receivers, and the Chargers have a great coaching staff, have a great quarterback. They know how good he was as a rookie. You better believe that they're working to expand his role this offseason. I could see the Chargers offense taking a really big step forward in Harbaugh's second season there. And I think that, along with even more development as a player, it's not like he's fully developed at this point. Like, he's going to keep getting better and better. I think those two in combination has the ability to catapult Ladd into top 5 production at the position. If he can stay healthy, he is absolutely going to crush it this season. I have so much confidence in that take. Moving a little bit later in drafts, third wide receiver, year 2 or 3 that I want to be drafting this season is Odunze. Now, Odunze did not have the rookie season that Nabers and Ladd had. In fact, it was, a bust by pretty much any production metric you're going to look at. He was 140th in yards per route run and was 41st in receiving yards at wide receiver, despite being 15th in air yards. The thing is, we know why the production was so bad. He was a rookie. He was playing with a rookie quarterback. He was on a team that already had 2 veteran wide receivers there with an absolutely horrific coaching staff. I'd be a lot more concerned if we had these issues, but that also the underlying metrics for Odunze were also bad. If he wasn't getting open, if his route success rate was terrible, well, then I'd be like, okay, he's producing bad, and he's not being that good of a wide receiver. But as per Matt Harmon over at receptionperception.com, 71st percentile success rate versus man, 87th percentile success rate versus press coverage. He also ran only 1 route at a below average rate, and it was a route he ran only 2% of the time. That could also easily be sample size. If you're only running something 2% of the time, there aren't that many routes in the sample. A couple flips there where he runs the route a little bit better a few times can easily boost that to positive. So don't worry when you see someone run something 2% of the time and they're not running it that great. It's really just not something to worry about. It's a very low sample. Don't worry about it too much. When you look at the routes that he's actually out there running, the routes that he's going to run this season, he's great. And if you isolate out the situation, he had a really good rookie season. Again, I understand that from like a hype perspective, we all thought going out there, he was going to be awesome. And then he very much disappointed from a fantasy perspective, from just a total production perspective. But the Bears were a dumpster fire last season. This season, you've got Keenan Allen gone. You've got just the head coaching lottery win in Ben Johnson. I can promise you the play calling is going to be a lot better this season, and people are going to regret jumping ship too early. I could see basically a JSN level breakout for Odunze this season. Remember, as a rookie, JSN also had to deal with the pathetic Shane Waldron offense, and it took a coaching change for him to produce like we knew that he was capable of producing, even with a lot of target competition. Because it was the same thing over there. You were looking at that being like, okay, we know JSN's good, but they have Lockett, who we knew last season wasn't, the same level we'd seen in previous years, but was still Tyler Lockett, was still going to command targets, kind of similar to like a Keenan Allen last year for the Bears. And they had DK Metcalf, right, in Seattle, where we were like, okay, you got these two. How much can JSN really do? Well, when you increase in, it's not like their coaching was all that good last season. Like Ryan Grubb also was not going to be in the NFL anymore. He didn't do that great. But just getting rid of Shane Waldron was able to unlock this offense in a new way. And that led to a JSN breakout, right? Under Waldron, you had JSN running these routes that were like 1 yard downfield. They never let him run more than like 5 yards downfield. That capped the offense. They were also using Odunze in a pretty bad way last season. You flip on over to Ben Johnson. You increase just the ceiling for this offense, and you're going to see the impact on all players there. I fully understand that some people are still worried about target competition because there's still plenty of competition on this team. And with them also drafting Loveland, drafting Luther Burden, there is target competition. But Keenan Allen is gone. Cole Kmet's role is going to be really reduced. Gerald Everett role going to be very reduced. That's 176 targets from last season. That's going to be really, really reduced. And you're really only filling it with 2 players, Loveland and Burden, who are not locks to have amazing production. Like pretty much everyone is going to agree Loveland going to be a good tight end. I think the community is a little bit more mixed on Burden. I do think there's a lot more red flags with him, but overall, we still think he's going to have an okay career in the NFL. But as rookies, there's no guarantee that they come in here and command the 176 targets that are potentially available for these two to fill. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. I do think there's plenty of room for Odunze to see even more usage than he had last season. And I really believe that the biggest beneficiary here is just the increase in total offensive production, the offensive environment just getting a lot better. It's going to unlock a much higher ceiling for the offense overall to a point where I'm not too concerned if there's elevated target competition. If they're actually utilizing all these players correctly, that's not going to be a problem. The problem was there was a lot of target competition last season and they were not utilizing anyone properly. The game plan was horrible. There was just no efficiency on offense. And you had a bunch of people. So that's why we saw a little bit less production than we were hoping. Complete reversal this season. You also get a second year from Caleb Williams. I really feel strongly that, being able to get Odunze as like a low-end wide receiver 3 to a high-end wide receiver 4, that's extraordinarily fair at cost. That is a very, very strong pick. 4th wide receiver over today is Ricky Pearsall. He was a wide receiver you all know I loved last season. He was my most drafted player in all formats. I'm a dynasty league going after him as well. I think everyone remembers what happened, right? He was hurt for most of camp. Then he was shot a week before the season started, was super lucky with how that all worked out, made a very quick recovery, somehow returns by week 7. As you'd expect, though, with the things that happened to him in the offseason, an up and down rookie season doesn't break out right away. And especially when rookies, but really anyone misses a lot of camp, it's going to impact them, right? I mean, when you're missing a huge chunk of training camp, that is when the offense is developing. That is when they are creating the offense. If you're just not on the field, they can only game plan you in there so much. And it's going to really impact rookies because you have to earn the trust of coaching staffs. And beyond that, especially San Fran, a coaching staff where, Shanahan is perfectly comfortable taking a star player and just benching them until he feels confident in them producing. It's a very scheme-oriented offense, and so if you don't know the scheme, if you haven't been in the scheme, they're not going to put you out there. So it makes sense that he started off very slowly, and then he had a decent close to the season, 8 for 141, a touchdown in week 17, 6 for 69, a touchdown in week 18. He's another player as well where you look at the season metrics, right? You look at the box score at the end of the year and you're like, not that great of a season, but he was great versus zone and press all season. He really stepped it up versus man coverage later in the year. We were excited about him as a prospect because we know that he's an elite route runner. We know that he's NFL ready, and he's just great at creating separation, and that's incredibly important at predicting success in the NFL. Some players in college can get there off of, just athletic ability, right? They're not necessarily getting open at a super high rate, but they're way more athletic than the defenders they're going up against, and so who cares, right? Even if you're not open, you jump over them, you run past them, doesn't matter. Doesn't work like that in the NFL. Everyone is a super athlete in the NFL. Even the worst corners in the league are better than the best corners in college, right? So you can't just win off athleticism in the NFL. You actually have to get open. So we like these players, Ladd, Pearsall, who get open. They're very good at getting open. Pearsall is that caliber player. He proved last season he can do that in the NFL as well. And when you consider that Deebo Samuel is gone, Ayuk is probably not going to start the season either at all or definitely not going to be fully healthy to start the year, it's fairly easy to visualize a path to where Pearsall is the number 1 wide receiver on San Fran in 2026. I do think Juwan Jennings is an underrated prospect, or underrated like as wide receiver, not really a prospect anymore. I think he's a very good player, but I think they also drafted Pearsall knowing they were definitely going to lose one of Deebo or Ayuk, and to start the year again, they might not have either one of them. And like I said before, 49ers offense, extremely scheme heavy. If Ayuk is going to miss a ton of camp and not be ready to start the season, again, he tore both his ACL and his MCL in week 7 last year. So no guarantee that to start the season, he's good to go. If he's not out there in training camp, Pearsall is going to get a ton of reps. And even though that doesn't mean that Ayuk's not going to be kicked aside in the offense, he knows the offense, they know how to utilize him. It's more so if he's not out there, it's going to open up a ton of opportunities for Pearsall to really develop, to really get going, to earn the trust of this coaching staff. And that's going to be very important in his development. I think this is the kind of player you want to be targeting in the late 9th round of redraft leagues. He's a player that has a ton of upside. Worst case scenario, remember, he's a former first round pick. He got open last season. He's a good wide receiver. Worst case is he's someone you can kind of mix in and out. And in the 9th round, to have the upside to be the number 1 wide receiver on this team, I just think that's really, really strong value in drafts. No one in that range is a lock to break out, but I see a clear path to production for Pearsall. ADP more than fair. Final wide receiver for today is Cedric Tillman. He's going by far the latest among this group and is actually going just outside the top 150 in redraft league. So you can definitely take him as your last wide receiver in drafts. Now, he only has 563 total yards through 2 years, but he was really good and became the starter last season. So the Browns trade away Amari Cooper. That bumps Tillman up to a starter. From that point on, averages 10 targets per game, 75 receiving yards per game, 3 touchdowns in 4 weeks. Then, unfortunately, he has a really bad concussion, misses the end of the season because of that. But as things stand right now, the Browns wide receiver depth chart is Jeudy, Tillman, Deontay Johnson, David Bell, DeAndre Carter, Jamari Thrash, Michael Woods. That's an absolute joke of a wide receiver room. And Deontay, he's on a $1.1 million contract, $0 guaranteed. There's nothing guaranteed in his contract. They can cut him if they don't feel like dealing with him. They give a better deal to DeAndre Carter. So that should kind of tell you how they view Deontay Johnson right now. Tillman is far and away their second best wide receiver on the roster right now. No guarantee that holds. They could easily trade for someone, sign for someone. So that's why, he should be going later in drafts. But you have an opportunity to draft someone that could be the second best wide receiver, could be the first wide receiver on this team. I mean, Jerry Jeudy is not that good of a wide receiver. There is a world where they go into it with Tillman and Jeudy as the top 2, the clear top 2, but Tillman has a downfield role. Tillman, is a bigger red zone threat. Tillman could be the top Browns wide receiver, and you're getting him as the last wide receiver in drafts. Now, I have no idea what the quarterback situation is going to look like. And to be honest, I don't think the Browns know. I think they're just going to throw everyone out there and be like, okay, can anyone separate? Can anyone prove to be good? And if that's not the case, they'll test them out in the preseason. They will start the season with one of them and be like, just can someone win this starting job? And I think someone's going to. I don't know if the production is going to be amazing for this offense this season, but Tillman is going super late for what could be a team's top wide receiver. If it turns out that the Browns are terrible, that none of their wide receivers are good, it doesn't cost you that much in drafts. You can drop them, pick someone up who's hot on waivers. But I think among all the wide receivers that you could take this late in the draft, you could take as your last wide receiver, he has the most appeal because if you can hit on that, if you can hit on the top wide receiver on a team, to be going outside the top 150 players, the last wide receiver you draft, your wide receiver 7, 8, it's so late in the draft that it's really just not a problem. If he ends up being bad, could be top wide receiver on a team. I think I like that value. He's not, and again, when he was the starter last year, he was very good in fantasy. It was just a concussion that kicked him out. So those are 5 year 2 and 3 wide receivers that I like drafting right now. Let me know who you think should make the list in the comment section down below. And if you're excited to be drafting, but your season-long draft is still months away from happening, make sure you sign up for Underdog. You can draft all summer long over there. Plus, if you sign up for your first account using promo code FFA and enter into at least one draft, then you can not only get a deposit bonus and then whatever promo they're running at the time, but you'll also get my draft and in-season rankings for free this season. It is the best deal in the industry. And in my opinion, Underdog is the best draft platform for doing best ball drafts over the summer. So a win-win all around. All right, that'll do it for this one. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a like if you made it this far. Please subscribe to the channel or podcast if you are new here. But again, thanks for watching.